well, let's escape. So yeah, so I'm very much of a novice. I keep on trying to mess with Linux for a while, get sidetracked. So what I did was I had went to Barnes & Noble, bought a magazine, took the CD out. I think I bought it only for the CD. And this is one of the CDs I got. This one and also another one for CentOS OS. So Fedora Live Security 23, I guess this one we can do. And everyone keeps on talking about Kali Lite, so I don't know what Kali Lite is.
Kali is like a cybersecurity penetration testing. I'm sorry?
That's what I thought, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
Is it even really worth putting on your computer?
Depends on what you're going to do with it.
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start with Fedora. This is a Toshiba satellite. I think I got it when I was active duty, so it was like, this is 2004 model. So it's pretty old.
No, that's a good test for this because we need to be able to show it going onto an older piece of hardware.
Oh yeah.
So this is good.
It's very old. I actually was thinking about doing, I had Windows Vista on it before. I was thinking about doing Windows 10, but I gave up on that idea. Alright, so Fedora, so we're just going to go ahead and pick that one, hit enter. Alright. Probably a whole. Basic graphics? Or just the first one?
I would go ahead and, I think even though it's an older computer, you can probably get, Fedora 23 is older too.
Yes.
So you should be okay doing the first option without the basics.
Gotcha. Now I did have a question. When it comes to, so I do have a Fedora 23 CD, is it always advisable to do a latest model of Fedora, or do you just...
I would always do the latest model, and the reason for that is the Fedora project does not support their distributions after a couple of their 6-month cycles. Like they're working on, I think I'm running Fedora 27 right now. So I mean that's how far along they are. They stopped supporting the older versions. So all those, we were talking about Spectre and Meltdown earlier this morning, that certainly doesn't have those Linux kernel patches for that. So we can go through the installation of this, but if you wanted, when you get home with this, you might want to download the latest Fedora version install CD and put it on that, which it'll upgrade for you.
Oh, okay. Oh, so once you have Fedora 23, if you just put the CD in, it will upgrade for you?
No, you have to launch it yourself.
Oh, okay.
And I would, since it is so many versions behind, I would treat your new installation as a brand new installation again.
No problem.
And then once you get to the Anaconda, which is the install thing that Red Hat uses, installer, tell it if you want to do it a completely new install. So it's going to want to format that. We'll probably see a menu that says we're going to format the drive, and you want to tell it, I want to remove all the other partitions on this drive if it sees any.
Gotcha.
So if you've already installed, you will have already installed this. When you put Fedora 27 on it, you'll want to tell it, I want to remove these. Yes, I want to do that. Yes, I'm sure. Because you haven't put any of your data on it. So that's the best way to do it.
Gotcha. Thank you. Now I'm curious, is a Fedora version, is it this is Fedora 23 security. Was there different, I guess there are different versions of Fedora that made it, I guess it had a certain theme to it, or?
I frankly haven't heard of the Fedora security series that much. They do have it, I've read about it. It's as I recall, I think it's just a very, very locked down version of Fedora, which you probably, as a regular user probably would not want to use that kind of a version. That's the kind of thing you would give to your kids or something like that. Or you might use in a business environment where you don't want your employees going to, sites you don't want them going to. Of course, you could control that other ways too, with your firewall and all that, but still. But hit the escape key, Kristina, because that way we can see what it's doing.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Oh.
That's what we want to do. That's what we want to see.
Okay, so if you don't want to see this, You let the little.
I always hit the escape key
Okay.
because if it sees a problem, it's going to give you a instead of the green OK, it's going to give you the red failed.
Oh.
Some things like one of my machines keeps coming up and says can't load kernel modules. I don't worry about that because I've already read about that. That's because it's the virtual machine drivers aren't. It's more of a messaging problem, that it's not a problem.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's just still sitting out there. So once you look into it once and you see that, then you don't have to worry about things like that. If it says something else like, you know, can't load something like the desktop or something, or then you have serious problems that you need to troubleshoot.
I would say ignorance is bliss there as a regular user because it's going to be so technical that for the average.
You're right. That's a good point.
We're talking about someone who's never done Linux before. They're not going to care whether they're PCI, all that. You know.
And what you're saying is exactly the reason they do that. That they cover it up with that little blot there.
So if you're wanting to really nerd out, go for it. But
you're right.
Even if you saw
Absolutely
a failure, you're like, I don't know what to do with this. My SCSI drive didn't load. What does that mean?
You don't have one. That's probably why. But you don't have one because you don't need one. So it's not a problem.
Alright, learning this version is very old. That's what you.
Don't worry about it. Can you?
That is.
Well, that's why
awesome.
we yeah. You guys were working on other images that you know you didn't have something that.
Yeah, he had the latest version of Fedora, but I didn't have the I didn't have much time.
Oh, okay,
for him,
okay.
so. I actually had to wipe this lovely computer clean, so all my good stuff were
Oh wow.
on there. I never got
That's a fine. That's an okay like that. That's like you know disconnected because she's not on the Wi-Fi and she has no Ethernet cable plugged in. That's a natural. The Fedora community likes to have different artwork for each of their, you know, like the background screen of this is all these pretty little blue and purple fractals things. They've had earlier versions of like a helix and a DNA looking thing and all kinds of different.
Can you keep the background, or whatever Fedora version is, you have to go with that background?
No, I change the background to what I want. But you have to go in. I guess you have to be a little bit nerdy to be able to do that.
Okay.
Are you streaming this?
Yes.
How are you streaming it? Where's the
YouTube.
camera?
The camera's
Oh, is
right
that big
here.
thing on the other side? Okay.
The camera also is the microphone. So those of us who are close to the microphone, you have a pretty good level. I'm seeing that I'm pushing it in level into the yellow just a little bit. It should pick up Kristina just fine, but in the past I've heard people in the back row talking at a normal conversational thing, and I can still hear them on the recording at the end.
Wow.
So what channel is it on YouTube?
It's my personal channel.
Okay.
I've got the link somewhere on the Keylog Beatup page. But when I'm done with this, I will announce the link to this particular video. But you should be able to go back. I'll probably put the link to the rest of the video. Like one of my first ones was Matt doing his presentation on GitHub, and a couple of years ago. It's been a while. I think. Yeah, it has. Yeah. And I got one. I think I've got Donnie Davis doing OpenStack. I have one of our, I think the very, very first one I did was our very first bash scripting show and tell, because we were showing our bash scripts. So the answer is yes, there's several videos up there. About 10 of them, I guess.
Okay. So this is a live CD, Kristina?
Yes, it is.
So the install option on it anywhere? I can't see the really.
Yeah. So it had install option was yours Fedora 23, Kali Linux.
No, I mean this is live, but can we install it to the hard drive? Is there something option?
Oh, install option.
Install to hard
Yeah,
drive.
install the hard drive right down the
That's what I
bottom.
was. Yeah, thank you. That's what I was looking for.
So I have installed a hard drive Fedora, but then right beside it has some sort. And also beside it says Fedora Live Security. So
But
I
that's a point though, everybody. For this, you want to look at. I think Ubuntu and all Mint and all that. I think all of them have some option like
It's
that
always gonna be down
that
there?
says
Yeah.
no, it's going to be somewhere
Oh,
on the
okay.
desktop. But you're looking for an option like that that says install to hard drive or words that say something like that.
Oh,
So-
okay. Alright.
So you good, I found it. Good, it was the back row that found it. I mean,
It's those eagle eyes on these giant phones. I can see anything. Young guys, I'm sorry to say it.
nothing wrong with that. That's good.
Yeah, you're good, dude. Okay, so from this standpoint, this is where I always stopped at because I don't know where to go. I haven't really read about Fedora long enough to actually.
This is a good session. Let's walk through it.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
problem. Thank you so much.
Okay, go Kristina. Let's go.
Alright, so
You got on the network, which is a step farther than a lot of people get.
That's true. What
Yeah.
network are you on?
On-
Mouse over top of this up
Yeah,
here for
so
a minute. No,
on top of
mouse over
here-
top of right here.
She connected to Mosaic.
No,
Yeah.
no, right here. Mouse over here. Let's see what you're on.
yeah, so I actually connected to Mosaic.
Mosaic Lab
Yeah,
active.
because it was actually easier if you just go ahead and click it. Some people had some ways of going through the terminal doing them.
You must have already put in the password for it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I went
there's
there.
the
That's,
answer.
that's usually one of the biggest hurdles for like, for some reason, wireless drivers have had a history of being not so great.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So if you don't get connected to the internet, you're kind of screwed.
That's true. That's one thing where we have
Well to get
we
that
old
far.
distribution, but it's on an old piece of hardware. So it probably has the drivers for the old hardware
Yes, it
already
is.
on it.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Alright. So we have Wi-Fi connection. So
it also looks like an XFCE. It is an XFCE desktop. How do I know that?
how
Look
do
at
we
the
know
upper
that?
left-hand corner where it says applications. You have a little
Yes.
mousy, the little
Is that
mouse.
a mouse or a dog?
It's a mouse.
Little mouse.
It's a mouse.
Wow. That's a little
What was there's an Ubuntu version called Xubuntu.
Yes.
Xubuntu.
Yeah.
That's just Ubuntu with an XFCE spin,
Oh.
and it starts with a little mouse too.
Alright, so I guess going over the little icons we have, of course, it explains my hard drive.
Yeah, it's gonna see your hard drive, your installed actual hard drive there.
Alright, and then you got the home page. So where do we go next?
Down to that installed a hard drive.
Alright, let's go and do this.
Double click that thing and let's launch it. And you can see it's launched. The little twiddle icon thing.
And you can tell how old my computer is because it makes too much noise.
I felt the table vibrating when your hard drive was spinning out.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
It's just a step beyond a DASD. I mean.
So it has an AMD 64 Athlon processor.
Yeah, well, it's 64-bit, so
Yeah.
that's
Spinning drive in a laptop. I mean, even that's
yeah.
even that's not really a thing today. It's
No, I don't do anything
spinning
with solid
drive.
state anymore.
Yeah.
First time I touched a solid state, that was the last time I touched a mechanical.
The only problem with the solid state is I really love it because they're fast and all those good reasons, and there's nothing to break except
Right.
except the technology works by breaking down the dielectric inside it, and so they didn't need to do wear leveling and all that.
Yeah.
So if you do a lot of saving and resaving and stuff, you're going to greatly shorten the life of your SSD. So probably, at least for the foreseeable future, if you're SSD based, you're gonna, and you do a lot of rewriting and writing and not just archiving, you're probably gonna plan on replacing your hard drive, more frequently than you would a spinning hard drive.
Yeah.
I mean,
But that might be a perfectly good trade-off. That might be a perfectly
Yeah,
good trade-off.
yeah, that could be true for depending on the application.
Depending on your use case.
It's worth, yeah, exactly. It's worth it for me because I like to know that I can take my laptop, just chuck it on my bed while it's still running,
Absolutely.
and it's so fast. It's ridiculous. I run 8 VMs on this at a time.
And you get
it's
spoiled.
like being in a fully bare metal data center.
Oh, the I/O is just incredible. Quite different. You're not waiting for the platter to swing around and do the next one,
Yes.
swing around and do the next one. I mean, in computer time, that's an eternity.
Yep.
So you're not
Yeah.
using SSD.
I am.
Yeah, that's what I got.
I have one of the Intel SSDs in here that has on-the-fly AS256.
But you're still also with an older computer. You may have very fast I/O to the SSD itself if you pop an SSD in there. But also you still have the bus speed,
Yes.
the RAM access speed, and the computers, the CPU and all that. So there are other factors, that are
Yeah.
gonna
I've done a
contribute
lot.
to the performance level.
Right. So I've done a lot of SSD upgrades. I don't know if you want to
Okay.
A lot of SSD upgrades on older laptops for people to breathe new life into them.
Right.
And it's amazing. people like, wow, you're gonna buy a brand new computer? No, you want to put an SSD in it first, see what happens. I'll loan you one.
Definitely let's look.
Boom.
Yeah.
If people are like, wow, you know, that would benefit. You know, I was gonna say to you about 20 minutes ago. Would you sell that to me? Because it has an Athlon 64, and I will put an SSD in it. And I love larger laptops, but you know.
As long as you're not doing anything that's really processor intensive,
That's
like graphics
Yeah.
or sound or something like that. But if you're doing just straight, text or something like that, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Or use it as a backup unit.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I usually have two laptops, one that I carry to a customer site and one that I leave at home.
Yeah.
So they're like disposable. If I lose it or break it, that's fine. I can put an SSD in it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I got a lot of ideas now. Alright, so going back to the
Sorry.
install. No, you're good. Thank you. That was very helpful. Going back to the install, we're going to go ahead and pick Fedora English. But if you're good in Spanish, you can pick
There's a continue button down at the bottom.
Okay,
That's another
bottom.
part I always have trouble finding where's the next button? Where's
And for some reason, if you still have doubts, you can always hit quit.
the red? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Up to a point, they give you an escape option. There is some point where you click this and you're done. We're on our way.
I've noticed the same thing. Sometimes the windows are too large and the buttons fall actually
Yeah.
below the field of view.
Yeah, that's a display. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it is.
And I haven't found any real reliable kind of consistent way to get the buttons.
No,
to
that is a point of frustration in
It's
some.
annoying.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's, yeah.
Good point.
So I hit continue,
Okay.
and guess I'm waiting for it to continue on. I guess after we wait, I just want to make sure I know that
Oh, there we go. Okay.
there's always these different boxes of workspaces. It's always going to be 4 workspaces?
No, you can set in XFCE. You can set as many as you want. 1, 2, a dozen if you want, if you have use for it. You can do the same thing in Windows 10 too, but
Yeah.
but XFCE has been doing it 10 years ago.
Spinning cubes and everything.
Oh, I like that.
So we're here.
Okay,
Now,
I would select. Now you've wiped that disk, so automatic partitioning is just fine. So you should be able to go ahead and click that, and because it wants you to do something.
So at the bottom it says, please complete items marked with this icon before continuing to the
Okay,
next step.
then the only
And
thing is
therefore
your
you
hard
have that
disk.
lovely. Alright.
There you go.
Shiva. Alright. Let's see.
ATA.
So I'm here.
Maybe you can't have a software option.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, you're right.
Really?
Yeah, if they need something beyond that to be able to talk to the hardware. Yeah.
We should pick it up.
Well,
Even back in, because it's.
no, we're talking about
SSDs.
SSDs.
Yeah, they get seen as an ATA device.
Well, ATA, I think that's going to be ID inside of there, and not SATA. Right.
Oh yeah.
So
The
I don't
hardware,
I don't think there's any ID.
from a
SSD
hardware
inside
perspective, yes.
I'd have to Google that to be absolutely sure.
From a software perspective, I've always seen the.
So the question
Except if you have a BIOS, of course, yeah, I was saying, except if you have a BIOS that would mask it and let you kind of.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is it's actually a physical IDE interface inside that laptop. You're not plugging a SATA drive in there. That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
That's a physical problem. Yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying.
not gonna.
That looks like it might be an IDE drive.
You're right. That's not only a connector pinout problem. It's
That's
also
right.
a signals format
Yeah,
problem.
it's a
Yeah,
complete
that's a no
It's
starter.
like plugging apples into oranges.
Exactly. Yeah, basically yes. Yeah.
I know.
So I hope you're enjoying the tangents.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Check the devices you'd like to install to. They will be left untouched.
I think for most,
Change it.
if you're a new user, you're good right there to take the defaults.
Mhm.
Unless you have a reason to do anything different. The defaults are well thought out. They're made for most users. It's okay to take the defaults.
If you're a new user, you won't know. Like,
Exactly.
Good point.
And I'm saying because you're a new user, you don't know, and so but feel comfortable taking the defaults because somebody who knows has set those. So you should be okay.
Alright.
Now here's the continue button. Oh, it's up there at the top. They moved it. See down at the bottom.
I'm looking at the bottom. See, I'm like,
You see, that's where we were talking about menus. I mean, that's where it gets confusing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see that there.
I feel like Ubuntu does a pretty good job with its installer. It's like they keep it consistent, because there is spatial locality
Right.
that you want, and so they keep it
The consistency is important.
So you know how to progress.
Right.
What does that mean, special locality?
Um, like literally in a space. Our memory is designed in such a way that you have like temporal locality or spatial locality. So we are good at remembering things where they are positioned.
Oh, okay.
So in a window, if you have a GUI window and you keep the progress buttons always in the bottom right
Gotcha.
corner, your memory is going to remember. I can progress by always going to the bottom right corner. That is an example.
Oh, like the
of
muscle
spatial
memory in
locality.
your eyes.
When they did this thing where it's like, well, you're gonna click here to proceed, and then click up here to proceed, and then click down here. Spatial locality is gone.
Gotcha. So basically, that's why Kristina was looking over here in the
Yeah,
bottom
right.
We had no idea how to.
Because that's where it
You know
was the
what?
last time. I mean, yeah, that's, if he says that's where it was the last time, the next time it should be where you saw it the last time.
It was getting me too last night when I was doing some custom stuff. And I'm like, what? And, I mean, I've been working with computers since I was a baby. So it's like, really, I never get over it. So that's a really good point. Thanks.
This screen right here, it's found something on your disk.
Yes.
So what you want to do?
It's a SATA drive.
I googled the model number.
Oh, okay, cool. So maybe we have
It is a
options.
SATA.
The only other way, when we're done, you can pop the box open and to be sure if you want. Reclaim space is the type, because otherwise you can't go any further.
That's correct. As a disclaimer, I did have Fedora on here before. I just forgot my password.
Not a problem, because you can reinstall it.
Yep.
Okay.
Alright, so what are we looking at?
You can, I would say, delete all.
Alright, we're deleting
Just
all.
delete all down here in the lower bottom again.
Keep on moving.
Yeah, they do.
We're going to delete all.
They're trying to exercise your eyeball muscles. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to help you. I'm being sarcastic.
So after I delete all, we're going to...
No, you don't want to preserve it. Reclaim space. There you go.
Reclaim space.
See, this is their way of protecting you from yourself. And you, okay, good.
Alright, so
Now
we
it's going to
can
take a moment
say-
to do that. It's going to write to that or set those parameters inside RAM. It hasn't written anything to the disk just yet.
Alright.
But now when you do this, begin installation is what that button says. I think we're ready to go. It doesn't need anything else. And it's rocking and rolling.
Gotcha.
That progress bar is setting up the installation environment. And while anytime during this process you can set the root password, and you do want to create a user that's not other than root.
Is there a reason which one to do first? Should you do user creation first, or should you do root password first?
I've always done the root password first. It doesn't matter because you're not going to get to it until it's done installing. So just type yourself a password, and the little how strong your password bar is kind of helpful. Although I think I would, just because it turns green doesn't mean necessarily that you have a quote unquote good password. I mean there are different rules for entropy, meaning difficult to crack level.
Frankly, I was just thinking about the context you're going to use this in. If it's a desktop sitting at your house,
All of that.
does it matter?
Oh yeah, actually, when I play with virtual machines and stuff, I just use a throwaway password that's all red because I don't care. I don't have anything important in it. I'm just playing with it. So depends on your. Again, it goes back to depends on your use case.
Like if you're putting it on the internet, you set up an SSH server on it, and like you want it to be secure.
That's a different issue.
Change what you do, but it's just your like Netflix machine later on. You make the password Netflix and whatever like this.
The only thing I would keep, for my Netflix machine, I may want a strong password on it so I don't become part of a botnet, but that's different, That would be the only thing. But you're right. I mean, Netflix is not, the worst that could happen there is somebody's going to be watching your movies.
Even if you're, I don't know how a password would be helping, preventing you from, like if you click on malicious links on the internet, they're not accessing your root password, they're coming in through your browser. is already sandboxed.
They would have to use a weakness in your browser to install malware on your
Yeah,
computer, which
the
then
whole
calls home to
thing.
mama, which include then in turn, you
And
know.
I'm not saying it's not possible, of
Yeah.
course, but
No,
it's
it's-
just unlikely.
And again, our done button is up
Is way
here.
up there.
So I hit enter and I was like, it wasn't doing anything. So
I can see Matt rewriting this procedure already.
Alright, so our password is set.
Oh, you did both? You did a user app? You just said?
I just set the password on.
Oh, okay.
Alright.
No, the user is root in that case. I mean,
Right,
the password for root's of the user, but in this case, you know.
Well, and that's sort of already a confusing step for a lot of people, because what does root mean? Like,
Yeah.
to a brand new user
That's right.
coming at Linux, what does root mean? That means
Yeah, is it
nothing.
ginger root? Is it
Yeah.
tree root?
Now, as I make a create a user, I'm a big Deadpool fan. It says I can also make myself a user administrator, and that is advisable.
I
No.
do if I have only one other user in there, I would tick that. I would select that box. What it does is it puts that user account in the sudoers file, and or Etsy sudoers. And if you want, we can when we're done, we can open a terminal and look at Etsy sudoers
Yes.
and see what it's done. But what that basically allows that user to do administrative things or even become root if necessary. What that does, it gives you a backup. If you've forgotten your root password, this gives you a chance to go in as a user and then become root and change the root password. Because that user can be an administrator. You want to do that regardless of what operating system you're using, whether it's Linux or Windows or anything. You want to be able to have that capability.
Gotcha. So therefore, you must put a password in. All right. So.
Right, exactly, because, otherwise you could sudo without a password, and that is, like,
You're screwed like I was. All right.
it's good to be forced to or have cause to talk about these things. Because a lot of people,
Definitely.
I've been working for this for years and years and years. Yes, we have, but you take things for granted after a while. It gets fuzzy, it gets mushed together. It's always good to relook at the source code and see exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And you come at it like what we're trying to do is come at this from the eyes of someone that knows Linux experience.
Right, absolutely.
And you realize there's a lot of corruption here that it assumes domain knowledge.
You're absolutely right.
That, what does it mean to make me a user administrator?
Oh,
Yeah.
and at that metric, there are major fails all through this steps, aren't there?
Is this screen similar to Fedora 27 with the administrator?
They've done better. Oh yeah, it's a similar thing.
Does it have the same options in there?
Yes.
Is the make an administrator not selected by default?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
It's-
so I installed Fedora 27 last night, just about 20 minutes ago.
Oh, cool.
It did not check that box and can still sudo to root. Okay, so I can sudo -s and I was right in, so it's got to be doing something else. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just install it right here, just to reinstall it, just to double check that I'm telling you something that's true. So I wonder if it adds
That's
it
a very good
I wonder
question.
if it adds it to a group or something.
See, that's the problem here. It probably adds it to the wheel group, maybe.
Yeah.
That's
well,
probably what
yeah,
it's
yeah.
doing. I wasn't even thinking. See, I just, okay, if you're in the wheel group, of course you can sudo to it because you're in the wheel group.
Yeah, but that box, if it's not checked by default in Fedora 27, then I didn't check that box on the way through.
That's a good.
I'll
Ooh.
double check.
That's an important observation. That's an absolute. What we can do is we can look at Etsy group and see what groups this user is in
Yeah, so you do it that way, Kristina. I'm going to go ahead and put Fedora 27 over here.
and compare.
We can do a
Let's do that. That's a good point. I'm glad you did that. That's a good point. I just assumed it was in the sudo.
And so did I. Absolutely. I mean, I would have said the same exact thing you said because
for
it's
heaven's
just
sakes.
intuitive. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
But it's probably wheel group or something like that.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wheel group, by the way, is an old Unix-ish,
Yeah.
administrator.
You know, I met Evie Nemeth in person. She wrote sudo originally.
Really?
Yeah, I met her at a DEC-US conference in Boulder, Colorado
Oh, that's cool.
in the early 90s.
Wow.
Yeah. She wrote some of the early Unix system administration books. You know her, right?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really nice lady.
Wow.
The sudo's really come a long way.
So to make sure I understand this correctly, there are the root owns everything. Then there's little groups
Right.
underneath the root.
Yeah.
And what the group you were referring to was called a wheel group.
Yeah.
And then there's also other groups like a pseudo group.
No, there isn't a sudo group.
Okay.
Use a sudoers file is somebody. Think sudoer is SU switch user
Yes.
to do what this.
Superuser
Super-
do.
Yeah, superuser do is a good way to remember it.
Superuser do. Well, it's not just a good way. It's what it means.
Yeah,
Super
yeah.
user do, okay. And a wheel group has members who are super user do.
So no, what you'll typically see is, okay, so the sudo is a binary, the set UID root, and what you'll see is the permission mask is set on the file. The ownership will be root, and the group ownership will be wheel, and there will be no permissions at the world level. But you'll see execute at the wheel level, and it'll be a set UID root program. So when you're in the wheel group, you can run it, and you can set UID to root, and allow you to open the sudo files, and it'll do all the checks and balances to see if you can run what you're trying to run. So that's kind of how it works from the Unix permission privilege escalation perspective.
I think wheel preceded sudo for quite
Well,
some time.
a lot of Linux distributions use the wheel group to allow execution of sudo. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But
Now from here.
did we make all this all confusing?
No, you didn't. No, I'm just trying to make sure I understand the analogy wise, because when you say wheel group, I was thinking how you spell wheel, but you're talking about
Wheel, like a
is
wheel on a
like
car.
Wheel on a car. So,
So-
you could say the engine itself is the root, and the wheels attached to the car is what to also participate in moving the car, right?
As per Wikipedia,
That's
Okay.
kind of a nice that could help.
as per Wikipedia, in computing, the term wheel refers to a user account with a wheel bit, a system setting that provides additional system or special system privileges that empower a user to execute restricted commands that ordinary user accounts cannot access.
Gotcha.
The term is derived from the slang phrase big wheel, referring to a person with great power or influence. It was first used in this context with regard to the 10X operating system, later distributed under the name TOPS 20 in the early 1960s and 70s.
Whew.
Interesting to me. So as an Ubuntu user, I had no idea what you were talking about. I had
Ubuntu
never
has wheel.
heard of wheel, and I've been a Linux user since 2006. So I did a search, Ubuntu wheel group, and it says Debian does not use wheel. Period. So like this whole concept of like wheel is
Oh, wow.
completely new.
Well, it's not a ubiquitous standard, let me say.
I didn't
You'll see it here and there. And actually, I've seen it more frequently on
I didn't know
older
Debian
distros.
didn't use it.
Yeah, so Stack Exchange, the answer says, this is why is Debian not creating a wheel group by default? The top answer says some Unix systems only allow members of the wheel group to use su. SU. Others allow anyone to use su if they know the password of the target user. So, Debian is the parent operating system.
Right.
Just doesn't use it. So, I like something.
Wow. I did not know Ubuntu didn't do wheel.
So I was trying to click on advanced. Nothing happened. Oh, okay, this is advanced. Oh, that's what advanced looks like. Yeah, you're right.
No, it
It's
lets you
wheel.
set what your. Now you could change the actual username if you don't want it to be that something underscore. You can make it be anything. You can make it be just plain old Deadpool if you want.
I wonder if you cancel that and uncheck the administrator thing. If you come back in here, we'll.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good exercise.
What'd you say?
Come on, uncheck
If he
administrator.
unchecks that.
Now
and
go back to
the
advanced.
Go to
We'll
advanced.
be in that.
Ooh, look
There's
at that.
no
There's
way
your answers to what
That's
that
what
that
that does.
Fox
what?
does.
I missed it.
Go back, Christine. No, no.
So if I go ahead right now, if I check this, make user administrator.
Okay.
Go to advanced. Boom.
Look at that.
Got the wheel.
What do you see?
So
User
the box
group on the
below
group is
says.
wheel.
Oh, so it added the wheel. Okay.
Yeah, but
That's what that box does. It
uncheck
adds a user to the wheel
There you
group.
go.
I had.
I
Okay.
don't have wheel.
Now we're all a little smarter.
I still
Okay.
manually edit the sudoers file anyway.
Well, no, that's fine, but if we, once it's done installing, we can check the permissions of
Right.
ownerships on the sudo file
Yes, exactly.
and see if it's wheel group and
Yeah,
nothing in the
absolutely.
world.
Wheel it has all those privileges too. So if you look at sudoers, Wheel is a part of sudoers, I believe. We will definitely be looking at the Etsy sudoers file when we're done with this install.
Alright, so I hit done.
Okay. Yep.
Man, okay.
So did your user have Will? Did your user
Yeah,
have the check? Okay.
Yeah, because she made it administrator, and you see it. So that's what that administrator is. That's just like a binary: wheel, not wheel, wheel, not wheel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what the
Be
check.
nice
that's
if
what
they
Matt
put
and
parentheses
the
for
Christine
people
what?
like us who know it.
Yeah. So now it's about halfway done, which is nice for an old machine like this. You know, it's not going to take too much of a forever. We're putting just the basic, you know, install on it too. So whatever other research anybody's come up with, you know, we could talk about that while this is installing.
And since I have the internet, if I click help, I pretty much will get what kind of help service would I actually get.
I don't know the answer to that. Let's try.
Alright, if I click on help.
Yeah, whether it's just built in. It might just be built in because they want it to work if you don't have internet connection.
Yeah.
However, that means that the help set of help content would have to be a finite amount because it would be the only thing that they could fit on that disk. Because you're pulling some content file. Did you click help?
Yeah, I clicked
Okay,
help and nothing happened.
it's trying to. Well, look what you're doing with the I/O going through the bus of that. It's still trying to flow all the software from the CD onto the hard drive, and now you're telling it you want to pull other stuff from different parts of the CD to display on the screen.
We're doing a CD install?
Yes.
Nice. I haven't done one of those in a long time.
My help button does nothing, too.
Oh my.
Clicked on it several times.
Really? Okay.
I'm not connected to. Wait a second. No, I'm not.
You don't need any help.
Oh, I didn't know.
You know, it's kind of funny. The longer you've been doing things, the more you realize help is really welcome.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And so, okay, so down at the bottom we have what? We have two different type of folders. We have one with the.
Okay, that shows your desktop, I believe.
Okay, desktop.
And that's the terminal. You can open the terminal.
And this one here is your file folder, like a file, like your
Right.
how you say
File manager.
your file manager. And then this, of course, the internet. This is your quick way of doing search.
Oh, that's a search for applications.
Yeah.
That's the access, and now that's the home folder.
So everything down there is actually part of the live CD.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's all stuff in RAM.
Yeah.
Because the live CD doesn't put anything on the hard disk, so you've loaded this into RAM. I don't know how much RAM it has, maybe a gig, I don't know.
That's a good question.
I think it's telling that the default thing that they include a little bar at the bottom.
Their little bars, like their little
Wow.
advertising things. Yeah,
I mean, the app tray at the very bottom.
Oh, the app tray, oh.
The fact that it includes a terminal as a default application to launch is like, really indicates who they're targeting.
You're right. Yeah, that is a giveaway.
If I was just a consumer, I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you click on it, what the heck am I supposed to do now?
I can type here. Is this a text editor?
who remembers DOS? You know, I mean, is what it is.
And so my help button finally did come up.
Yeah, it did come up.
It takes years for it to come up.
Hey, my help's coming up right now, too.
It's like, you know, what's this, watch pot never boils?
USB?
No, I'm running off an SSD. I'm running ISO straight off an SSD into Hyper-V.
I could have done it since I have two hard drives like this. So you run from SSD into you forever. I run from CD, so it doesn't even matter what type of source it is.
So he's got some virtual machine stuff in the middle there. He's got a bunch of middleware in between that probably is introducing some latency. That's obviously is comparable to the hardware I/O on the other one.
Actually, yours is faster because I have a backstream. Mine says help, and there's nothing in there.
I got the notice over here for the call for help. I just had to click OK, so it popped up on that.
Thank you.
No problem.
That's That's why it's so slow, because Patrick has to do it for everyone in the world.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's why it's so slow. It's waiting for Patrick to do something every time. Patrick has all these requests he has to go through.
It's a full-time job.
I do notice, like, because Microsoft wants you to use the two-way verification, and for some reason, when they always send you notification, it's like so slow. Whereas when Google does it, it's pretty fast. I can quickly respond. But if you like using Microsoft product like your Outlook or OneDrive, like it's never syncs up. So like you might say, yeah, I authorized. Your computer gonna feel like you didn't authorize it. And so I always wonder why was there always a slowness when it came to, for example, two-way verification. Like how come you couldn't have things like Google sync up just like that? And to me, it's always seemed like they always been on Microsoft. That could be like a layer discussion.
You're talking about like the text messages it sends you?
Either
Text message, she
or
means a
I
two-factor
even have
auth
the
things.
app. I have the app on Microsoft.
Authenticator app?
Yep, and it feels like
I like that.
slow. I'm like, I approved it. It's the way from my computer.
Are we talking like the Google Authenticator is kind of
Yeah,
like a
that
software
was
version of the
fast.
old RSA secure ID tokens they used to give people in the 90s? I had one where the numbers
It's
change.
very similar to that.
Numbers
The way
change
it
every.
works.
It's based on the time and inside your processor.
Yeah, and Microsoft had the same way, but for some reason.
Oh,
when
I know
see
what you're
Microsoft,
talking about.
like,
Yeah, Microsoft
it's
does
just-
have that.
It's so freaking slow. I'm sitting here like.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually have a Google Authenticator for my GitHub account.
Yeah.
For some reason, I decided to match it up with that, and I have it for LastPass and I have it for Google.
Which actually I found out, the good thing about it was it last year, year before last, my laptop actually got stolen. So I had, luckily for me, it was a Microsoft, and I had an Office 365. So what happened was everything, it keeps my Mac address on there and also other stuff on there. So I was able to give that to the police officer right on spot. It also has a way with the Google, of course, you can use Google as well as Microsoft, to track your laptop. So I actually couldn't find out when he was going to turn my laptop on. Of course, you have to automatically switch up to a Wi-Fi. And it showed me everything. Luckily, the person didn't take the battery pack, he left the battery pack behind. So he's not going to be able to turn it on anyway, unless he does it the other way and knows my password, but I doubt that seriously. But it was helpful because the police officer was like, do you have any information in your laptop? And I'm like, oh yeah, let me open it up. Yeah, there you go. He's like, you got everything up, MAC address, everything. And if the person decides to take it to a pawn shop, there you go. It never made it to a pawn shop, I guess.
That's good information to securely tuck away for
Yeah,
that very
I
purpose.
didn't know.
The MAC address?
Yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
laptop, because I mean
Have
the NIC is
everything.
like embedded into the. It's
Yeah.
not like they're going to be popping out a NIC card
Right.
and putting stuff. Now they could still spoof the Mac,
Yes.
you know, with some hacker software, but still, you know, then you're talking about a different class of criminal.
Exactly, that's
Yeah.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're that type of class, okay, fine, keep it.
Yeah, it's easy to scrape off a serial number off the outside, but yeah, you're right. I mean, what are you going to do about an embedded hardware ID? I mean, yeah, it's a hardware flaw to get that kind of stuff to change.
Well, I have a feeling the NICs in these laptops are soldered in anyway.
My Wi-Fi in this can be replaced. It's
Oh,
a plug-in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the Ethernet, the Gig Ethernet is definitely on the board.
Yeah.
Um,
I had an old MacBook Pro. Now the thing is, with a MacBook though, they don't want you to open it at all. So it's like, yeah. But once you are able to get into it without, you know, bending up the aluminum and all that, which is a challenge in itself. You know, the Bluetooth module. Yeah.
Good luck.
Well, the RF stuff. I mean, my old 10-year-old, 15-year-old MacBook Pro had. I mean, the Bluetooth module was a separate thing that was sitting in a little compartment, so you could actually take it out. And the same thing, I believe, with the Wi-Fi module was the RF stuff. I guess that's the way they built them back then. I suspect it's all integrated, like these later models. I'm sure it's, you know, all probably even soldered on the board.
Mac,
Yeah.
the big Mac conferences, and
Oh, right.
they show the inside, because they like showing off the schematic of it, and they show the that view where they kind of blow it up into pieces.
Oh.
Hasn't
Exploded view?
Exploded.
Well, that's
They'll show it like it's one big circuit, and like 60 or 70% of the rest of the computer is a battery.
Yeah. Or it's all part of this one big chip that's got, you know, op amps and, you know, Wi-Fi and everything else all embedded inside, potted inside the chip. And they what's the okay, help me with a word. There's the soldering industrial soldering process where you the parts are all laid down with bits of solder, and it goes through this
The wave soldering machine.
conveyor belt, and it heats it up just enough to do the solder without frying the components. It's called something.
Wave solder?
No, not wave solder. It's something components. I can't remember the expression. It's that process where, you know, where it goes to the conveyor belt. All this stuff probably went through a conveyor belt, and it melted the solder, and it.
Or surface mount components, you mean?
That's pretty close to what it is. It's surface mount. It's something else though. There's another word for it that means soldering stuff where you don't do it like they did way long ago, where, you know, people on benches, you know, under big magnifying glasses. They don't do that.
It's called wave soldering.
Yeah, it is wave soldering.
Wave solder? Okay.
Yeah, it's wave soldering.
Okay.
Yeah, they got a big pool of molten solder underneath it. You put your boards on a conveyor belt, and they go through, and the solder just kind of comes up like a little wave.
You Google conveyor belt soldering.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Wave soldering conveyors, wave soldering, machine belt unloader, conveyor belt, material automatic soldering machine. It's wave soldering.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's dangerous as everything, too.
I try to solder.
Well, it's inside
You don't want to mess around with that machine if you don't know what you're doing.
It's
I've
inside
seen pretty serious industrial accidents with those.
I'm serious about your what?
Industrial accidents with wave soldering machines. People that don't know what they're doing.
Well, doesn't all the
I've seen
work
a whole
is
wave
inside
soldering
some
machine.
compartment
I've seen an
though?
entire one of those get dumped on the floor. Ooh. And it was a gigantic mess.
Oh my
Burned
God.
the crap out of a couple people's feet, too.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh, because it has all that molten.
I think it's not that way.
It's metal.
Yeah, it's molten. No.
Well, that's what solder is.
Exactly.
Yeah, you
A
know.
very large quantities.
Very large quantities of it. Not a bead of solder on a discrete circuit
not
board.
a little thread with a soldering iron like,
Exactly.
like we did in Heathkit days.
Yes. Oh, they don't do that anymore. They do some soldering here on some of these components, I think, with these specialized boxes. But they still do probably some wave soldering stuff with chips and things.
Wow. It's all taking a long time.
Well, we're 81%, so that don't worry about the progress bar. It jumps to the end, toward the end.
Finishing right now.
Alright, so if you have an SSD, you finish faster.
Maybe and maybe not, because what's the long pole in the tent I/O here? It's the optical drive. The optical drive has to spin, and so that's your slow component.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter how fast your SSD is. It's sitting there waiting. Okay, give me more. Okay, thank you. Another drop. Thank you. I'd like more, please. Thank you. Another drop. Oh, thank you so much. I'd like some more, please. You know.
Now, do you guys, what sites do you guys use to download or create your USB versions of Linux? I
Depends
know a
on.
lot of people always say, oh, just go ahead and get the CD, but of course sometimes they'll either buy a magazine or actually
No.
order it.
I very rarely use USB on thumb drive anymore. I usually just, I'll pull the ISOs off the web and I'll store them on my SSD and I'll just load virtual machines through ISOs that are mounted as local CDs.
But if you're doing a bare metal install.
Yeah, so I have a few, actually the one that you have, I have a couple of USB 3 thumb drives. They're slow to write and fast to read. So I'll use Rufus under Windows or I'll use BD under Linux.
Right.
So write the ISO. Yeah, Rufus does a pretty good job. You can set up your thumb drives to either be UEFI or BIOS, depending on the way you want your hardware to be done when you're finished with it. So like for bare metal, I do a lot of Windows 10 stuff. You know, it needs to be bare metal. That's just generally saying it's got to come off the thumb drive. Yeah.
And as far as for your
there's
virtual box,
if you already have a Linux installed, some of them, again, I can only speak to the region that has a USB disk creator tool, specifically designed for like getting your ISO, plugging your, like it's super simple. You specify the ISO image, you specify the USB key that you want to click on, and you click go, and it does it all for you. I did it for my Mac. I have one called UNet Booting,
yes, I see that one.
which is the way I found it to on the Mac. But I don't have a Mac.
I know Amazon was selling USB drives with the Linux versions, distros on there. And I
There's
was
another
like,
one called
really?
that I found called Etcher, ETCHER. Seems pretty snazzy and modern to me, but again, I don't know if that's on Mac.
Actually, you know what you're talking about. I'm more comfortable using GUIs that have the options laid out because I'm not 100% familiar with throwing ISOs, and sometimes it doesn't work right for me for some reason, which I'm not even certain what I'm doing if I'm wrong. But like Rufus has all those options laid out, and you know I had to do a lot of reading to kind of even start to get close to understanding some of the things that it does. So it really is a blessing to have those things, you know, because ED has not always worked for me, depending on what I'm doing.
Depending on, yeah, if you have a machine or a Windows machine that has, naturally is going to be set up for UEFI,
Exactly.
and you're trying to make it a dual boot, you've got to deal with that.
That's right. And if you DD like
Right.
an ISO image to it, it's not going to be happy with UEFI. That's
Right.
what I've noticed. I don't know why, but that's the only understanding.
So before it went black, it was at 90%.
You should, you all you need to do is move your mouse or something, it's just the screen timed out, that's all.
That's really long.
We're getting close.
So you said you normally do VirtualBox or?
No, I use Hyper-V.
Hyper-V.
I run Windows 10 Pro on this thing, so
Oh, still not going Windows 10 Pro.
yeah. You know what? I've used a lot of Type 2 hypervisors, and I'm okay with all of them. I mean, they all suit a certain purpose. I mean, I get Hyper-V already built in, so I'm not even going to be interested in installing something else on top of it. And I do a lot of Hyper-V and ESX or VMware kind of integration and migration. So it's nice to just have it here to do different things I play with.
You got
So
some
if you're
natural.
dabbling, VirtualBox is a really easy tool to use.
Yeah, I actually put VirtualBox on this one, and I was going to put Mint to try it out.
If you don't have Windows 10 Pro, you won't have Hyper-V built into it. But you can actually install Windows 10 Pro. You don't have to activate it. The only thing is you get a couple things that of course you like you can't change the desktop image, but you actually can if you know how to work on that. But you don't have Hyper-V. So I have a Windows 10 Pro ISO. It's the Fall Creators Edition if you want a copy of it.
Yeah, so I actually was looking for a Windows 10 Pro. I wouldn't like play with it a little bit. I wasn't sure.
I mean, we can like install it on your laptop like today if you feel like it. You're gonna blow everything away.
I like that. I've been instructed, ladies. Yeah, I work at Walter Reed Hospital, and we just went to Windows 10.
Oh, okay.
We went with so we have some things on Windows 7, but we all walked around and changed every computer to Windows 10. So some people weren't happy.
Are you in building 53?
I don't work in building 3, I actually work in building 9.
Oh,
But
okay.
we do walk over there a couple of times and get some stuff and come back over with us.
I've done it for a while. That's summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like it down there.
It's not bad, huh? It's not bad, but so it's been a headache because of course you know how some things are not always ready for Windows 10. Some things are even ready for Windows 7. It was kind of a headache, but so far we're done. For some reason, government takes some time.
That's okay.
As far as virtual machines on Linux, I've always, with the Fedora installations, the KVM, QEMU KVM, not keyboard virtual mouse machine, kernel virtual module.
Okay.
And QEMU stands for something else, QEMU.
Oh, yeah,
It's the engine underneath KVM, and the program called Vert Manager just spins everything up. You can take an ISO or whatever and install, just like with this. And so that's what I've always, like the virtual machines, like when I did that networking presentation a couple of years ago, I was using the representative, different ones that talk to each other. Those are all KVM based virtual machines. So.
Alright, 94%. You can say like hot dog? Mostly a hot dog.
Yeah, what's up with that?
What's up with the hot dog?
It's probably a Fedora 23 thing.
Their code names and
You got Fedora 27 out there now.
What's their mascot?
I think they quit. They decided at some point along, this little hot dog guy, there's from Fedora, I forget what it was, 14. No, it was from 2011 era, and it was like Beefy Miracle or something. I didn't watch the commercials. I think that's where it came from. But they had Fedora 7 was Moonshine. I think one was called Vern, as in Jules Verne. Things like that. And I think they decided to just quit naming stuff because it got a little bit okay.
Who was taking
the point
over?
where the
Yeah.
code names have, because Ubuntu does the same thing.
Double
names.
Right,
names.
yeah.
And I find that now, cause I'm less of an enthusiast than I used to be like hardcore into Ubuntu and learning about it. And I've seen so many versions come and go at this point, because I mean they've cycled through the alphabet and they're coming back around again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they've been around for a long time now. And I don't remember what the name is. So it's like 1404. What is that? So it's because you have to sometimes know the name. It's like, and it's just the adjective part of the name, like trusty is the identifier that they want for that particular one.
Right.
Xenial is like the identifier for the 1604 release. Like, guys, I just don't remember. I can remember the version number. 16.04. Okay, I got it. Like, why don't you plug that into your actual configuration files and rather than making me remember your code name from when you developed it. Like, it's just weird to me.
One thing Canonical is doing with the Ubuntu project that Fedora hasn't been doing is like the long-term support versions. But Fedora, you really need to upgrade, every cycle because they're going to drop support.
Well, I figure you'll go to RHEL if you need to go long-term.
Yeah, which you can, and you don't have to pay for it. You can run it, or CentOS.
Well, people that want long-term are more likely to be business users. And like at work, I don't want to be upgrading my Linux distribution every 9 months.
Yeah, better things to do.
I have a job to do.
Like your job.
Right.
Yeah.
So
All of
the
that.
interesting thing about it is his install software 100%, but yet it's like halfway in the bar. Like it's not all the way to the
Welcome to the hard part about
Progress bars.
progress bars.
Progress bars are not actually progress bars?
There's probably some other stuff that still needs to set up the grub bootloader.
It will show that step in there at
Right.
that point, yeah.
So it is halfway done. The entire install process. It's 100% done installing the software of the install process.
So this is actually a progress bar of a progress. It's actually the progress bar for the
It
full-
will all of a sudden shoot to the end, though.
Real quick, the hot dog in Fedora was put there by Chris Lumens, most likely, targeted release for Fedora 15. The
15.
detailed description is, Fedora needs a serious user experience overhaul. Recent releases have focused on artwork that is too abstract, too focused on looking shiny. While the result looks professional, it lacks a certain sense of the absurd. I mean, we're not doing brain surgery. This is just software packaging and wrangling. I propose a complete set of hot dog themed artwork that is used by default. Now, he does say at the top of this that this is a joke, nothing to see, move on. However, obviously it's not because it did show up in Fedora 23.
Yes.
With an animating mustard stripe going up the belly.
Oh, it animates?
It does.
I saw the hot dog, someone kind of laying like this with a stripe of mustard down it.
Yeah,
What the hell's that?
It goes up the. Right from environment.
So I have returns from not checking the box. I am not in the sudoers file, and there is a wheel group with no members.
Ooh.
So there you go.
So maybe it does both.
Well, I think what you said was probably right on target. As soon as this installs something,
We need to check, yeah.
Yeah. So actually, what I was doing, I must have been in another distribution when I was doing that. Yeah, I have it. Or unless I logged in as root, I don't remember. I swore I typed sudo from some account, but I don't know which distro I was in. It was this morning or last night.
How many distros did you put on there?
Well, let's see. I have.
Installing bootloaders, by the way, not to interrupt you, but I mean, we're at that point now.
So I have Fedora.
Which will be Grub 2.
Fedora server, Fedora workstation, Mint workstation, Red Hat server, Ubuntu workstation, all the latest releases, and a couple of various other ones that are Linux based. And they're all. It just makes it easy to do so. You know, they all just sit on the computer, and they're checkpointed right at the VM creation, where it's set up exactly as I want it, so I can just revert back and just start from scratch. Just makes it a lot easier. I work on this all the time, 24 hours a day, so it just makes it more efficient for the kind of work I do. I wouldn't recommend this for a normal person, because normal people like to get rest.
What's the definition of normal?
I never sleep. I haven't slept in years. Well, that's not literally true, but.
Oh, I said, hold on, you won't break the guy's record. I'm getting to the records.
Oh, I'm not happy with not getting around.
Creating users, creating a initram FS, that's your style. That's you boot from that, the initram FS. So once it gets that, it's going to be ready to rock and roll here momentarily. I didn't want you guys to miss what was going on.
Sure, absolutely.
So initram is what again?
It's the initial RAM
Files.
read external file system. So the bootloader, the very, very first thing that comes on, when it hands it off to something,
That's where it starts.
it hands it off to a pre-configured chunk of memory. So the basically like you start here and you start reading instructions, and that initial RAM file system is doing enough bootstrapping of the kernel to actually allow the kernel to start functioning as the way the kernel is intended to function. So it pre-builds this like set of steps to self-check and get itself going, and then the kernel can kind of like come alive and start loading all the other modules and stuff and really take over.
So think of it also like it's the execution steps between the original boot record and your actual Linux install. It's the initram FS. So the bootloader, just like John was saying, goes and grabs that, and then that has enough cognizance to bring your specifically configured system alive. Does that sound right? Yeah.
It's just telling you where to fetch the actual real operating system is what it really is. Which it loads from the disk.
Part of the boot chain.
They have to build it in advance because it has to be ordered and set up exactly.
Yeah, and it's got to work everywhere.
And that's the way computers have always been.
Your computer is coming on, it doesn't know how to fetch instructions. There's no program that's like running yet.
Complete.
It's just like the machine instructions of your processor can go through a sequence of stuff and start loading memory. Eventually, some amount of like logic kicks in and gets through it.
You know what I would do at this point is have your hand on your optical disk drive as you click quit. So when the computer goes, as it's going down, pop your drive out so that it won't try to.
Shut down from here? Did you click on
It's going to have to reboot to go to
I know,
load.
but I'm saying for clicking quit, is it going to shut it down?
Yes, it says go ahead and reboot and start using Fedora. And so quit, if you click quit.
So if I click quit and have my hand on the actual CD.
I'd go ahead and click quit first. Just in case it needs to reach something, because I've had in early times when it's wanted something from the CD, so let it read whatever it needs from the CD. Did you click quit?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like more like a 5-second maybe 10-second.
Because it's still running. It's not running from your disk yet.
There we go.
It's off from my disk.
It's still. This is all still off of the optical drive. That's why I said, but you don't want it to reboot into the optical drive because you don't want this. You want what's on the hard drive now.
Gotcha.
So we can look at that sudoers file. I hope you remember your root password, or at least your user password, which you can sudo to it. Either way, you have options. Man, it's taking a while to power down, isn't it?
I don't know if it's actually powering down.
Yeah,
I think it just quit the
Yeah,
installer.
it just put the installer for real, so now my CD-ROM is not even moving no more.
Okay, just go ahead and
Applications and restart.
now in XFCE, the live system user up there, you can click that and bring it down. You get a shutdown screen, shutdown option.
Now initially I had set my BIOS to run from the CD first and then to the hard drive.
Yeah, that's why you
So
need
that's
to
why I
take the
need to
CD.
take the CD out
Okay,
now.
there we go. Now, what I'd take it all the way down. I'd shut it until it shut down.
Alright. So before he shut down, do I take CD out or?
No, I'd click shut down first.
Alright, shut down first and then.
Okay. What if taking the CD out?
Are you sure? Yes. Shut down.
Alright.
Oh, you've done it now. I'd pop it. I
She
think
did a while ago when she repartitioned the hard drive.
you can pop it out. Pop your CD out anytime now.
Okay.
There you go.
Which
Okay.
laptop did you have her DD over? Or did she not do that?
I think it was the other one.
I didn't do that.
She DD'd the other one and had issues with it, so she went to this one as a fallback, and that's why she had those other partitions we needed to overwrite.
You DD'd the other
I
laptop?
didn't need nothing.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
Oh, you didn't
yeah, I
DD
didn't
anything?
get all, no.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't remember the password. So I did.
Okay, it was shut down, so you had to hit the power button again,
It's actually not fully shut down.
and you shouldn't have to. Oh, it's not fully shut down? Oh. Now she ticked the, Kristina ticked the administrator's thing, so that user, Mrs. whoever it is,
This is Deadpool.
Mrs. Deadpool should be in the wheel group and in the sudoers file. Oh, I mean, this is what we're testing. This is what we're checking. So we can start. We can start by. Let's see. You could type cat Etsy password at passwd pipe grep Deadpool and see what that. Oh.
How do you break it up?
Yeah, let's see.
Is it okay?
Yeah, okay, let's see, or either that or the power. I don't remember. I haven't done that much. Where it, we've usually just had somebody doing a PowerPoint presentation. So there we go. VGA input, 1024 by 768 at 60 hertz. You want to hit escape so we geeks can see what's going on.
All right.
I got a tough out of that.
No problem. I still have these lovely occasions.
Well, obviously you got it installed fine. It's all the green OKs, you know, to show it's happy.
And the last one was lag initiation script for live and late entry. Cannot connect. Connection refused. I'm able to.
So this is why I don't like
You know, look at this, feel like.
pull aside by like random warning messages. You're actually doing just fine.
This is just for the purpose of it. Just because I do it on my machines all the time, because I want to see what's going on.
Each their own.
There's Mrs. Deadpool
Like I
right
said
there.
earlier, ignorance is bliss.
You forgot the password?
Which one?
Okay, if you
Mrs.
can't-
Deadpool or is it actually?
That's actually the Mrs. Deadpool.
Oh, so
That's-
Mrs. Oh, okay. I wasn't
right.
sure which one I was doing. Was I doing the root
No,
or Mrs. Deadpool?
No, it's Mrs. Deadpool,
Oh, okay.
the
All right.
user.
Gotcha. I wasn't sure which one I was supposed to be doing.
Right.
I created two passwords. Which one is it? So, okay. So then, how could you actually log in with the other password? Like, how do you select the other user then?
You click other user and then you type in root as the other user if you want
okay.
to. And if you need to, what that will do though, you probably don't want to do that. The reason is it's going to try to generate a go ahead and use the default config for right now. That's an XFCE thing, but GNOME has the same thing, KDE has the same thing, LXDE has the same thing.
Why can't they spell out configuration? Like, what?
How do they spell it?
They spelled config. It's like,
Oh,
like, come on to the jargon. Like,
No,
use default configuration. Like, it's usability stuff
that's a
gives
legitimate
Linux-
criticism. I agree
Linux
with
a
that.
bad
I mean,
reputation.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's like saying Etsy group, and then Etsy, suspect.
password without. We'll look at that. Okay, now we do want to open the terminal.
Okay.
And actually, I mean, Etsy password is really not it's a misnomer too.
That's very
It
true
should be
because it's
user.
Etsy Shadow that's got the actual real
Well, I mean,
password.
like,
Yeah.
Etsy password really should be Etsy user. Because it really is the user.
Correct.
Yeah,
You're
it really
absolutely
is the
right.
user.
That's absolutely, that is a misnomer.
Mhm.
And it's probably a holdover from some
It is.
orientation decades ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Do you want to maximize that a little
fine.
bit? And if you guys can read it in the back, then I won't ask her to play with the font. Okay. First of all, let's try. Okay, let's try something. Okay, type cat, like the animal with the whiskers and fur.
Mm-hmm.
Space
Mm-hmm.
slash
Mm-hmm.
etc for Etsy slash PASSWD. PASSWD. And let's just look at the whole thing. Here's Mrs. Deadpool down at the very bottom, and you see the user IDs and the group IDs. They're starting with this. They're starting with 1,000. Used to be 500.
It used to be 500.
It used to be 500, and Fedora started making it 1,000. I think it's a good idea because you have all these other processes that are running that need IDs. You know, like your display manager. Okay, she is okay. Her bash is her shell script. So now that we see, okay, now let's do a type clear to bring us back up to the top of the screen. Now let's do okay, up cursor, up one more. Okay, now backspace over password and put group in there, and enter. Okay.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking to see who's the member. She's member only of her own group there. Look at the bottom. This is Deadpool down here. She's only in her Deadpool group.
I think if there is a wheel group here.
Okay, up cursor again, Christine.
Pipe
Christina.
more.
And group space pipe. That's the shifted backspace.
Oh,
No, shifted backspace.
It's the up and down kind of.
It's usually shifted
above the
backspace
enter
key.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
There you
space. You don't need a space. That's okay. Space. Grep. GREP. That's kind of like you're searching something.
Okay.
Space. Wheel. Enter.
There it is. Okay. So
She is
look
in.
at that.
Okay, right there.
Like you
Mrs.
said.
Deadpool is in the wheel group.
Yeah.
Right there. That's okay. That's a test. That's the reason. That's where I was going with that.
That's really good analysis.
Oh,
and then it's going
okay.
to.
Okay, now let's
gonna be in
VI. It should have Vim installed on there. So you ready to really geek out, Christina?
Let's geek out.
V. Yeah.
Is it
What?
like Nano or?
I love Vim.
I do too. I'm
This is.
yeah, I'm
Do you
like
wanna
the
do
biggest advocate
Nano?
of Vim in the room,
This is Linux for beginners.
Okay,
Let's
Nano.
do some Vim.
You're about
Vim.
to,
The
you're
user
about to-
wants to use Vim. VI improved.
The user's
The-
going to get
Nah.
stuck in
Vim,
and
VIM,
have to restart her
space.
computer.
One of the most popular questions on Stack Overflow is how do I quit Vim? Restart. That's how hard.
That's funny.
There's a special.
That's
no,
hilarious.
you quit Vim. There's a special key on your keyboard. It's the power button, and you turn your computer on.
No, we'll show you how to get out of Vim. Okay, Vim space slash Etsy slash sudoers SUDU sudoers ERS people who sudo.
Okay.
Enter. Permission denied. Okay, now we're gonna.
first and then do it again.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Okay.
gonna
As,
click them though.
Yep.
okay. The escape
Now
here. Oh, colon.
So how do what?
Colon.
Alright.
Colon. Q.
Cute.
Enter. There you go. That's okay. Cursor up. Cursor up.
Okay.
Okay. Go now. Go to cursor over to the beginning. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to backspace.
Oh.
Okay, that's fine. Space at sudo. Oh no, go back to the beginning. I'm sorry. We want to put sudo in front of that.
Okay, so sudo.
Space.
Vim.
Right.
There you go.
You got it. Okay. It's going to ask for your Mrs. Deadpool password.
Okay.
See, it's password for Mrs. Deadpool. And we'll see if you're in the sudoers file.
What on
Oh, the contrast is horrible. I can't read over.
You ain't never
That's
lied.
Vim for you.
This is painful. Why did they change the blue?
It's using the
It's using the colors, the LS
white color scheme on a dark background. So
Oh my
If
goodness.
you want to edit preferences, we can put something else in. We don't want to go.
colon
Delic.
set space bg equal bg
Oh.
void
BG.
Yep, like background.
equal white, I think. Okay. Or I'm sorry, the other way. Colon set bg equal dark.
Check this guy out.
Told you, I'm a big Vim fan. It's just, yeah.
This guy gets a free lunch for that one.
That's awesome. Yeah, way to go,
awesome.
Matt.
That's
Way
a,
to
that's a
go.
save the day kind of move right there.
Wow.
Okay, to search in Vim is the same way you search in man pages and with less. /
Forward slash.
Try root. Okay, now press N for next. Oh, that's just what I'm looking for. Only root. She's not in.
Well, what's
She's
the
not.
what's your account name for your
Oh, yeah,
Mrs. Deadpool.
Sudoers.
It's not in there. It's not in there.
Sudoers.d/. There's other information in there. There's probably a wheel.
Oh, there's a wheel group right there.
Yeah, same
There you go.
thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people in group wheel to run all commands.
Okay, so she's in group wheel.
Yeah.
That's why the sudo works for her.
Yep.
And that's how they make her an administrator. So,
Yeah.
so you do need both sudoers and wheel because you're controlling it here.
Mm-hmm.
But for you don't have, you're not in wheel, so
No.
you cannot.
It didn't put me in the wheel group when I didn't check the box. So
So you have to let's say
yeah, I did ask you to get through instead of sudo. Sudo is really nice. I mean, because you can control like the commands people execute with escalated privileges.
I guess once you go through all the documents, after pressing N, you get back to where you're at, which is / root. Okay.
Yeah, N means
And-
next in that case.
Yeah,
Okay.
but once you get finished it,
And you
then
can
you
do
get back.
P is previous, next to previous. So you go up and down.
Once I hit P, then nothing in register.
My problem is my fingers don't remember.
Oh, P is to place. So if you'd have put something in the copy buffer.
I'm sorry. My fingers don't. My fingers know. My brain does not. It's how you know. So it's actually capital N.
To go the other way, yeah.
To go the other way.
Yeah.
Sorry
So
about
if you type like YY, it will yank 2 lines and the P, and then it would be in the buffer, and you press P, then it would dump something. It would be what they call in the register here. So that's how you do like a copy and paste.
Yeah. So yank is copy.
Yeah.
And P is paste.
Okay,
They have different terminology for different stuff. So, if you're messing around with the terminal, I mean, you could. There's actually a help tutorial. I think if can you do :Q?
I think it'd be great to have one of these on Vim.
And then
That's a good
Because
point.
all these things that this gentleman's talking about.
type in
Right.
Vim
Absolutely, that's a good point.
and then hit Tab
Alright.
at least a couple times. See if there's So Vim Tutor, type in Vim
Oh, I
Tutor.
see.
And it will do a little like walkthrough of explaining the basics of Vim. And if you go through that lesson, you should at least be comfortable enough to go up and down, how to
I remember the
insert,
HKLJ stuff. I haven't
Oh,
done that
that's
in
Windows
decades.
registry stuff, right?
Yeah, no, it's the cursor movement.
Oh,
You
yeah.
move around in Vim
I'd
with
forgotten
your
all about
actual
that.
keys?
What?
You move
Yeah.
around with the arrow keys?
If you
Yeah.
don't have a numeric keypad
Yeah.
on
Oh, see, I
your
use
keyboard,
HK. My fingers do not leave the home row. Yeah, so you go through this and you'll learn how to use Vim, which is a super powerful text editor that you could spend. I mean, I've now been working with Vim for a decade, and I still barely feel like I take advantage of half of its power.
There's one thing I've used is the :set NU, set numbers to make it display numbers. Because if you have something in a config file that's causing an error somewhere, error in this, or in a script error this line, such and such, if I bring it up in Vim and I say :set NU, and it'll put line numbers along the left column, and I can go straight to that. You'll see exactly where the problem is.
And
You find
G
syntax
go
error
to-
or whatever.
Is it G for go to? Yeah, so you can actually G number and spread the line to.
So, like you said, Eric, like the #1 question in Slack is how to get out of Vim.
Yep.
Well, lesson 1.2 actually tells you.
Yeah, because it's people don't know.
Well, how do you get there then? Okay, so the next highest question at Slack should be, how do you get to the help text?
Vim Tutor.
:H.
How do you get to colon?
You know what? If you open up Vim, this happened to me. My first day, I started working at Lockheed Martin in 2006 after I graduated from MBA. My first day at the job as a developer, the person, I think maybe it was just as like a sick joke or something like that, she logged me into the Unix. We were on a Solaris 8 environment, and she said, you're going to need to read some stuff. Open a file with Vim and then the file name, and then she said, read it, and then she like walked away. I'd never used Unix before, so like I was stuck with Vim, and I was like trying to figure out like, well, okay, I guess I could use the arrow key. I got up and down, but started like trying to delete stuff, and nothing was working, and then I'd find that I hit some key, and suddenly I could start typing, like I was, because it's insert mode, and it's modal, and you have no notion of this, and you're just totally, I think it was just a funny joke that she played on me, but that was my first example.
Did you get pulled over at Lados, or are you still with Lockheed?
I left Lockheed about 4 years ago.
Oh, you're not with them anymore?